sports talk 5 days a week?
The big guy knocks it down.
Well, tune in Monday to Friday from 4 to 6 for the Sports Block.
He holds on so beautifully in the lead pass, perfect to the 10.
On WRGW.
The power and the kiss by the big fella.
GW.
Good evening, folks. I'm your host, Henry Scriven-Young, and welcome back to Uptime, pure gaming, tunes and news, no cheat codes required. Here on WRGW District Radio. I'd like to thank everyone who tuned in to the show last Friday, and a special thank you to everyone who has tuned in for tonight's show. For those of you who don't know, Exclamation Point Uptime is a music show where I play these soundtracks from video games. I'll also be throwing in some news and other fun bits, so sit back and relax as we jump into tonight's show. Tonight, folks, we are venturing into the other half of Exclamation Point Uptime's theme for this semester. Recently, we've covered remakes and a few remakes that also had movies, but tonight's game is special because there was a movie made about its series last August. Specifically, I'm talking about the Borderlands series. Borderlands, the movie, is a 2024 American science fiction action comedy film co-written and directed by Eli Roth, based on the video game series developed by Gearbox Studio. Tonight, we are specifically covering Borderlands 3, the most recent full Borderlands game, which was released back in 2019. For those unfamiliar with tonight's game, here is a quick rundown. Borderlands 3 is an action role-playing first-person shooter video game developed by Gearbox Studios and published by 2K. It is a sequel to 2012's Borderlands 2. Borderlands 3 was released on September 13th, 2019 for PlayStation 4, Windows, and Xbox One, and released for Mac OS on the 30th of October, 2019. A Nintendo Switch version was released on October 6th of 2023. In the game, players complete quests and side missions in single-player or multiplayer as one of 4 classes. When killed, enemies may drop weapons or gear, which can be equipped. New abilities are unlocked as the player gains experience. The plot is centered on 4 new Vault Hunters recruited by the Crimson Raiders of Pandora to stop twins Troy and Tyrene Calypso and their insane cult followers from harnessing the power of the alien vaults spread across the galaxy. The initial sales of the game were the highest of the Borderlands series. More than 5 million copies were sold in 5 days. With all that out of the way, let's get back to the music. and welcome back to Exclamation Point Uptime. I hope y'all enjoyed Liberating Athenas and Atlas HQ Attacked. So starting with the first one of the things that it really reminds me of is like a healthy mix of cyberpunk mixed with like tribal, like the like grunting and groaning, the so I'm not describing it super well, but those are the vibes that it kind of gives me. And you really wouldn't think that like those would work, right? Because those are like exact opposites. It's the past, tribal, and the ultimate future, cyberpunk. Nothing to do with the present, but somehow they work really well, and you get this kind of soundtrack that makes you sit there and go, wow, this is cool. My heart is racing, my blood is flowing. Things are like going pretty quickly in terms of the song and, the tempo, the actual like volume, which of course in music you refer to as dynamics. So the dynamics are at least a mezzo forte, if not a forte, which is strong, right? Loud. And I think putting those two elements together, they're surprising. You wouldn't expect them to work, and yet they do. Going over to Atlas HQ Attacked. So where Far Cry Classic falls short, which is the game that Exclamation Point Uptime covered last week, this game knows how to do action music. When I was preparing for this show, I was just sampling a couple of the songs, just listening to a couple of the selections, of course not to spoil myself so I could give good analysis, but, so I understood, hey, what does this music sound like? What is this game like? And I think one of the things that this game does really well is it does battle music, action music, whatever you want to call it, extremely well. And you're going to hear that throughout the soundtrack as we go. You're going to hear just how good the fight music really is in this game. We won't get that in the next one, but coming up, there's a lot of good fight music that'll help to better explain that. But before we move to our next section of music, I'd like to talk about our sponsor for today's episode of Exclamation Point Uptime. This episode of Exclamation Point Uptime is sponsored by Capital Letters. Founded in 1997, Capital Letters is the oldest literary magazine on campus. Capital Letters accepts poetry, prose, and art submissions every year from GW students, GW Online high school students, alumni, faculty, and staff. All members of the GW community may submit. Each year, Capital Letters publishes a magazine digitally and prints beautiful hard copies to showcase and share the GW community's talent and creativity. Capital Letters disseminates the magazine for free and donates a few to the library to further a joint archival mission. Furthermore, throughout the year, they print smaller, more informal zines to foster continuous creativity and raise awareness for the magazine. If you have questions or would like to be involved, you can join via Engage or contact the official email at gwcapitalletters@gmail.com. Would you like to sponsor Exclamation Point Uptime? Well, each week I'll shout out, as I just did, a GW student organization. You can sponsor Exclamation Point Uptime by submitting the sponsorship form found on the Exclamation Point Uptime website at sites.google.com/view/uptime-WRGW. Or you can head to my Instagram account where I have that website linked throughout my profile. A reminder that this is not a financially compensated thing. It's more of a shout out type of thing to promote student organizations here at GW. Additionally, the Exclamation Point Uptime website has been updated since our last show, so I encourage all of you to take a look and explore the website while we get back to the music. But before we do that, while we take a quick break.
Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies. Rivers and seas boiling. The dead rising from the grave. Real wrath of God type stuff.
WRGW, GWRadio.com, Washington.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
What is it? WRGW District Radio?
WRGW District
Taking
Radio.
notes?
Taking notes on WRGW District Radio.
Hi, this is Alec Puglisi, and you're listening to Taking Notes on... Oh, I messed it up.
Try it again.
What is it? I'm terrible at this.
WRGW.
WRGW. Hi, I'm Alec Puglisi, and you're listening to Taking Notes on WRGW Radio. Is that right?
Yeah, there you go. Alec Puglisi is a local photographer who just released a new photo book in partnership with Comic Ping Pong, one of the best venues around. You can find Comic Book Volume 1 on rediscoverfirebooking.com and more of Alec's work on his website, AlecPugliese.com.
You should have prepped me, and I should have wrote it down, and I could look at it. I'm bad at memorizing things. Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Hear from him and others working in the arts on Taking Notes for WRGW District Radio.
This is Francie from Flooring. You're listening to WRTW.
And welcome back to Exclamation Point Uptime here on WRGW District Radio. I'm your host, Henry Scriven-Young, and that was Neon Arterial, Upper City, and Lectra City. So starting with the first one, Neon Arterial Upper City, this one is actually really awesome, and it includes something that I actually haven't really had the chance to talk about yet, and that is music that instills a sense of wonder in you. And what do I mean by that? What I mean specifically is, like, in movies and video games, when the main character or your player or whoever walks out and sees something amazing or beautiful, and there's that swell of the music, the music is much slower, right? The tempo is much slower, but the dynamics gradually pick up, or they crescendo, right? They get louder. And this song does that really well. I think if you were to close your eyes while you listened to Neon Arterial Upper City, you would probably be able to visualize whatever it is you visualize doesn't matter, but you would visualize something probably spectacular and something wonderful. So, like, for example, in this one, right, you have specifically making that connection, right? So, like, what is doing that? Why does it feel that way? Well, part of it is tempo, part of it is dynamics, part of it is those chords that you hear, they go unresolved. They have this, like, it's like chord either a third down. So if you're on a piano, you go 1, 2, 3 of the white keys down, and you play that chord. If you play that chord, it may not resolve the chord before, but the thing is, it builds onto that chord. What's a better way of saying that? Basically, if you have two chords that work well together, they will sound good and allow you to continue to build chords that helps you build that song, right? That is what this song specifically capitalizes on. It's the use of putting chords together that sound good but not complete. I also like the length of this song. It feels like a whole journey. Like, it is 5 minutes, and that's actually not super long. I mean, it's not short by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not super long, and it really gives a chance to flesh out the whole, like, okay, we're going to play a chord, we're going to play a different chord, these chords are going to work together, we're going to sprinkle in some other fun, interesting elements, and while that's happening, you just get to sit there and soak up all the music. So I really like that one. Lectra City has a lot of cool vocals. I'm just a big fan of vocals in the music, even if it's just kind of the small stuff we heard at the beginning. I think one of my critiques of this soundtrack, and perhaps it's the series in general, but I wish that they all had meaning. I wish they were all able to instill something, right? So the last song instills that sense of wonder. It's very wonderful. This one, for me, feels a lot like just noises. There is music, right? There's no doubt there's music. It's composed, it's put in a score, someone was playing it, but it is not well crafted and well fine-tuned enough for me personally, and I feel like that issue persists throughout different songs in the soundtrack. Like, for me, it really, really feels like when you're watching the news channel and they go on the break, right? They do the hour break, or they do the break every hour, and they go, okay, well, we'll be right back, and we're gonna put on some music or whatever. We're gonna put up the commercial screen, and it says we'll be right back, and then they play the music underneath. I'm literally sitting here like, yeah, I feel like this could be something unironically they put in that. So, some people enjoy it, some people don't. I'm not a big fan, and I'd like a little more structure to the music itself other than elevator, news channel, commercial break sounds. A quick note here, the internet as usual, cannot come to a consensus about how Borderlands 3 is. For example, one person rated the game a 5 out of 10, saying quote, the game runs like total garbage. There's slow texture loading, screen tearing, bad animations, desynced dialogue, items falling through the world, and other bugs all over the place. Not only that, but navigating through the game is a nightmare, end quote. While others say things like, quote, the striking amount of loving detail and variety packed into its energizing and replayable 30-hour campaign is what makes Borderlands 3 a high point for the series and the genre as a whole, end quote, and give a rating of 9 out of 10. However, one thing that most people can agree on is that the movie was not good. Rotten Tomatoes gave the Borderlands movie a 10%, saying simply, quote, Borderlands is balderdash. Funny enough, this is 2024's version of, you should read the book. It's so much better. I'm going to advise you to, as you can probably guess, play the game. Some video game movies will be great and others will be horrible, but the Borderlands series is popular because the games are good. So go play those. You can buy Borderlands 3 for as little as $6. So if you feel compelled, pick it up today. Otherwise, listen to the complete soundtrack because it is definitely worth your time. With all that being said, let's move on to some more music. And welcome back. I hope you enjoyed Lectra City, The Games Begin, and Skywell 27, Katagawa's Sphere. So starting with the first one, I really like the drums and percussion here. I feel like there's just not a ton of songs where I'm sitting there going, yeah, I really, really like the percussion. It does something special. This one does. It's hard to actually verbalize exactly what it does, but it's just done very excellently here in a way that it highlights the drums and percussions, and I really like that. The second song, Skywell 27, Katagawa's Sphere, the vocals here are really distracting, and again, they're distracting in a way that is just noise. Like, it pulls away from the cool sirens. There's a tambourine in there in case you couldn't hear it, right? It's giving DJ, but in a good way. Like, there should not be, those vocals should either be different, gone, or more clear, because what they are right now is bad, and that is all I will say about that. I feel very strongly that I do not like that. This past week has been another slow one for video game news. However, there's still a few interesting stories to cover, so let's jump right in. Starting with PC Gamer, the 2025 Grammy Award nominations for video game soundtracks are now out, with a slate of big money games joined by one scrappy upstart for the prize. The award might go to Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora, God of War Ragnarok, Valhalla, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Star Wars Outlaws, or, and you didn't see this coming at all, Wizardry, Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord, the remake of RPG classic Wizardry. That might be because it's a soundtrack composed by Winifred Phillips, a veteran game composer who works over the years have included an extremely diverse range from the first God of War and Assassin's Creed 3 to work on the Total War series. Phillips already gotten some second string awards for the soundtrack, 2 NYX Game Awards, and a Telly Award, so it makes sense why the game would be here. For those who don't know, here's how the Grammys officially lay it out. The Best Score Soundtrack for Video Games and Other Interactive Media Award is an, quote, award to composer or composers for an original score created specifically for or as a companion to video games and other interactive media, end quote, which means you end up with exactly this list of nominees: Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora, God of War Ragnarok, Valhalla, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Star Wars Outlaws, and Wizardry, Proving Grounds of the Mad Overlord. Our second story here comes from Movie Guide. Amazon MGM Studios announced that it is working on a new series based on the Mass Effect video game franchise. Mass Effect was first released in 2007. It follows humans in the future after they discover the ability to communicate with aliens. Though this has allowed for rapid advancements in technology, it also comes with danger, and humanity has become a target of a race of aliens known as Reapers who pose an existential threat. Currently, it's unclear if the series will follow any of the game's storylines or if it's going to introduce a new story that simply takes place in the Mass Effect universe. The creation of this series comes as the entertainment industry turns to the video games as their new cash cow. Since the success of the Super Mario Bros. Movie, the number of video games adaptations has seen a stark rise and has found widespread success. And that's it for the news this week. As we near on the last 10 minutes of the show here, I'd like to talk about recordings. If you'd like to listen to Exclamation Point Uptime's most recent episode, Far Cry Classic, you can find the recording on my YouTube channel and the Exclamation Point Uptime website. Speaking of the website, be sure to fill out the special guest form, sponsorship form, and the show idea submission form. A reminder that this episode of Exclamation Point Uptime is sponsored by Capital Letters. Founded in 1997, Capital Letters is the oldest literary magazine on campus. Capital Letters accepts poetry, prose, and art submissions every year from GW students, GW Online High School students, alumni, faculty, and staff. All members of the GW community may submit. Each year, Capital Letters publishes a magazine digitally and prints beautiful hard copies to showcase and share the GW community's talent and creativity. Capital Letters disseminates the magazine for free and donates a few to the library to further a joint archival mission. Furthermore, throughout the year, they print smaller, more informal designs to foster continuous creativity and raise awareness for the magazine. If you have questions or would like to be involved, you can join via Engage or contact the official email at gwcapitalletters@gmail.com. Again, that is gwcapitalletters@gmail.com. Would you like to submit your student org for sponsorship? Well, be sure to check out the Exclamation Point Uptime website. The form to submit is at sites.google.com/view/uptime-WRGW. I'd like to thank you all for listening in to tonight's episode of Exclamation Point Uptime here on WRGW District Radio. I'm your host, Henry Scriven-Young, and I will see everyone next week for Pure Gaming Tunes and News. No cheat codes required.
WRGW District Radio. Tune in all day and every day at gwradio.com.
Live sports talk, just a click away. Weekdays 4 to 6. Only on gwradio.com.
Hey, this is Tad Kinsler with Blues Traveler. You're listening to WRGW Radio.